episode of the Technicals podcast. This is a show all about interviewing people in different technical programming roles. I am pleased to be joined by Alex Younger. He is a former Praxis student, so a Praxis alumni now, and he is currently the, let me pull it up real fast, that is the Director of Engineering.
Yeah.
Yep, at Learn Arena. Wonderful. So I guess we can just kind of get started then. Tell a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. I'm the Director of Engineering at Learn Arena. We are a education company, first and foremost. I often think it helps just to explain how the company works. It's a very interesting idea, and it's really why I bought into it. It's why I love what I'm doing right now, because I definitely believe in it. But imagine a company that pays you to learn, right? Like you have something you want to learn, but imagine you can just get paid to do it, right? And a lot of people, when they hear that, they're kind of taken back. They're like, this sounds too good to be true. This sounds like a scam. So it's always best, I feel like, if I just explain how the business model works. So imagine you go to, I don't know, udemy.com. We'll just say some random education website, a place you can buy online courses. So you buy a course, and it's $20, we'll say, just to keep things easy. So imagine that 10 of those dollars goes to the company, right? But then another $10 goes into a pot, just a pot of money. And so you take the course, but at the end of the course, everybody who's signed up for that course, they take a final test, and they actually compete against each other. And whoever scores the highest on that test actually has the chance to win back more than they put into it. So let's say you put in $20 for the course, but you win $60, right? You tripled your money there. But it all mathematically makes sense too. So it's not like it's because there is a pot of money that is always there. It actuarially makes sense. And I feel like it's such a, when I heard that, I was like, wow, why has no one done this before with everything? Like, I feel like you could find, you can incentivize a lot of good behavior doing this. So I'm a big fan of it. Something else we did to try and facilitate this, and it's working quite well, is we built the world's first AI course generator. So imagine you have a topic you want to learn about. I don't know, maybe it's woodworking, maybe it's marketing, what have you. You just type that word in, and imagine if you could have 60 hours worth of content on there. And maybe you don't have to go through all of 60 hours, but it would give you that much to learn about. But not only that, it would give you the questions you didn't even know to ask. It would give you all the steps that it would take to go from a complete beginner to mastery in a subject. And we built that out, and it's actually a very alpha phase right now, but that is currently how we're building out a lot of courses, and that is something we plan to end up releasing as its own product at some point. That's where I'm at right now. Some other things about me: I currently live in Florida, and when I'm not coding, which I love coding, it's my passion. When I'm not doing that, I'm out kayak fishing, which I also love. So that's a little bit about me. Do you have any other questions? Just about that?
Yeah. Oh, sweet. I mean, we were talking a little bit about this before we hit the record button of, I know you mentioned like your dream was always to work in AI, and I didn't realize that was because I was thinking, because I knew like Learn Arena and I was looking through it, I didn't realize that was part of it. So is that what you're working on for that AI work, is designing that course AI?
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. It's what I've always wanted to work in, was AI, and I'm really thankful to be alive in this time period. I honestly did not think that we would have good AI for like another 100 years. I was so wrong on that. I feel like I keep being wrong on that, because it seems like we might have AGI by next Thursday. I don't know, just some of the stuff I see online. It feels impossible to predict at this point. But I'm having a lot of fun building out this AI course generator. Been able to experiment just on my own, building out my own AI models just from scratch. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm finally in a place where I've wanted to be for a while.
Nice. That's super great and encouraging for a guy like me to hear someone further along here. Like, it's possible.
It is.
Do what you like. Yeah. So sweet. I mean, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I love that, like, the juxtaposition between, it's like, yes, I sit on a computer, I sit at a desk coding on a computer for 8 hours a day, and then I go out on my kayak and fish. That kind of duality of that sort of stuff. What are some other kind of like outdoorsy stuff that you enjoy to do?
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. So my background, my way background, eons ago, I guess, I used to be a zipline tour guide and used to manage zipline courses around the Southeast. But because I did that, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. If it's not something that might possibly kill me, it's just not as fun anymore. I don't know, that's kind of a weird thing. But when you work at such heights for that long, it's, I don't know, maybe you get desensitized and stuff. So I like scuba diving. I've done paragliding. I'm always looking for like the next sort of adrenaline rush out there. One of the things I would like to do is the paramotoring. That sounds a lot of fun too. So yeah, I scuba diving down here in Florida. So that's what I like doing.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. So sweet. We kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier about I'd love to get into Praxis stuff because for those
Sure.
listeners who have no idea, I am a recent graduate from Praxis, and so we have this connection. But for those who don't really know what the heck Praxis is, they're like, what is that? How about would you mind explaining kind of what the program is and what its service is?
Sure. Yeah. So Praxis is this alternative to college. So one of the things that the sort of Praxis philosophy is built upon is the idea that college currently is not great at giving people marketable job skills, right? Like
Mm,
it's great for a lot of, well, I'll say great, vaguely great for a lot of intellectual pursuits. But a lot of those things are not necessarily marketable skills, things that you could actively help a lot of other people right now with, right?
mm,
Whereas Praxis says, like, hey, what if we just put you in the real world, not in this college bubble? We'll actually pair you with a startup company, and then within that startup company, within this business partner, what they call them, that you can basically get hands-on learning experiences in the real world and sort of find what you like, find what you don't like. Startups are the greatest places just as a playground. You get to have your
mm,
hands in all different kinds of things. So for me, it was great because that's exactly why I got in the program because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I might like marketing and sales, and turns out I really liked programming. And it was through the
mm.
Praxis program that I was able to figure that out. So I know the founder of Praxis, Isaac Morehouse, one of his mantras is find or don't do what you hate, you know. But
Yeah.
before you have to find out what you hate, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
little bit about the program. Would you have anything to add onto that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just say for one, if anybody is listening to this and looking into Praxis, and you may not know about this, but since you did the program, they have done a lot of changes as far as how it works.
It
So
has
the
been a little
program that
while.
yeah, yeah, the program that I went through is very different than the program that you went through. However, the foundations and the principles are the exact same. So I'd say, kind of just diving in further with something that you said, is trial and error is one of the greatest principles that really it tries to teach and instill into it, which I've learned greatly from it, which is just that you really don't have to know what you want to do at first. No one does, you know. And so you just go in there, you try something, you just get working, and then you might realize, oh yeah, no, I hate this, and so you dip out and try something else, and then it doesn't work, and you try something else, and that's an amazing way to go about learning, and something that college does not facilitate as well as it should. Like switching a major is a big deal. Once you commit to
Absolutely.
something, they really want you to see it through, and that's not how things work. I mean, that's 95% of people who graduate college don't work in jobs related to their degree at all. And so that's that's really the biggest thing, is just to go and explore and find something that you really like, and to just learn by doing. I think that's what praxis literally means. It's a Latin or Greek word.
Exactly.
It means learning by doing. So yeah.
Yeah, I would love to add on just something real quick. One of my favorite quotes comes from Epictetus, and it's very simple. It's just if you want to be a
Mm,
writer, write. And I think one of the things
Mm,
that really, like, you almost don't realize it because we live in a world with so many licenses for everything, but you don't have to have a license to do things, right?
yeah.
Especially nowadays with the internet, like you can just go do things. A lot of people
Mm,
don't realize that. You want to be an engineer? All right, go build something. Go on eBay,
mm,
find some stuff to build something, right? There's tons of kids on YouTube that are just building all kinds of things. And there's never been more opportunity to monetize anything you want to do, right?
mm.
I think there's a ton of opportunity in spite of everything you might hear about how the world's getting worse. In many ways, it actually is getting a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, no, completely agree. That's awesome. So sweet. We can kind of then get into a little bit more of the specifics. Then you mentioned during Praxis you got placed with a job in the sales and marketing stuff and figured out your passion was for programming. How exactly did that come about?
Yeah, so I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought that marketing and sales might be decent for me. I ended up liking marketing a little bit more because I got to play with Excel spreadsheets all day, which I didn't realize how nerdy I was at the time. It turns out I was pretty nerdy. Um, but in that, there was still a lot of work, a lot of manual labor. And I guess part of the reason I became a programmer is because I'm pretty lazy. Part of me is lazy. And so I built a little program inside of Excel because Excel is built on VBA, which is a flavor of Visual Basic. And I built a program that would go out and scrape the internet. And a lot of this, by the way, was just me copying and pasting stuff I found online. Turns out that there's tons of people. Most of the internet is built by people who just built a bunch of stuff and then just put it on the internet for everybody else to copy it. And so I built this little program to where like for every cell in the spreadsheet, it would just go down one by one and search the internet and bring back some data that could probably contained an email address, which my whole job was just finding a bunch of email addresses related to our
Mm,
target market. Um, and so I used this Excel spreadsheet to basically do my job for me. I basically automated my own job, which I loved it. And it was doing that that really made me go like, wow, like this is extremely powerful. Like imagine just automating all of this really boring work in my life. And so from there,
mm,
I befriended the lead developer at that company, and they were working on Ruby on Rails, which is a very common framework for startups. But I basically figured out that learned the ropes from there. He told me
mm,
about GitHub. I didn't know what GitHub was. He told me, like a lot of the things that you really have to know just when you get started. And then from there, I went on and I ended up not getting a full-time job at that place, but I went back to ziplining, and in my spare time, just build things for free, right? So I
mm,
would build websites for family, friends, and kept doing that until I had a portfolio of bad projects, of just really crappy projects, some of which I still have in my GitHub if you want to see how bad how bad they were. But I built just a portfolio of a few projects, and that was really all it took for somebody to a guy in Colorado who was my greatest mentor of all time. I love that
mm,
guy. Shout out to Matt Scalf. But he saw this kid who was just sort of fumbling around with Ruby on Rails and decided to give him a chance. And I learned a tremendous amount working for him.
mm,
But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't just do things, just start building things for free. And I think you, at some point, most people are going to have to do something for free. But a
mm,
lot of like one of the hardest questions is finding what something that you would do for free, something you like so much that you would do it for free.
mm,
And if you find that thing, you're going to be set for life, I
mm,
think.
Yeah, yeah, no, completely agree. That's one. I'm not sure. Have you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I have. It's been a little while, but I have read that one.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a good book.
It's a great book. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. The funny thing is the stuff that I took from it the most wasn't about finances at all. But a lot. I loved his principle of saying like, wherever you're working right now or whatever you want to do, imagine that you're getting paid $0, and then
Right.
take it from there and see what you can come up with, and where you can innovate and come up with ideas to make some more money on the side, and even just as a good test of being like, okay, how much do I actually enjoy this, and where can I use my specific giftings and skills to add value in this area that I'm in. I think that's such an important like principle.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone has to find that thing that they would do for free. It might not be the same thing your whole life, right? But
Mm,
still having an idea of the things you're good at and the things that you would probably do for free, right? That's better um, than just sort of fumbling around from job to job saying like, yeah, I don't really like this work, but I guess I'll do it if they pay me, right? Um,
mm,
if
mm,
you really want to get good at anything, and if you really want to solve problems worth solving, you kind of have to have I think you have to be obsessed with it to some degree. And it's very easy to be obsessed with something you love doing. So I think
mm.
that if everyone found that, it would probably be a much better world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I've thought about this and written about this before of how a lot of people have this stigma of like, I mean, there's this one thing that I really love to do and would want to do, but I'm just gonna become a plumber because that pays the bills. And there we need plumbers every like I'm not scorning plumbers out here. One of my best friends is an electrician and he's a killer
Absolutely.
electrician. Um, so respect those guys absolutely. But if you truly have a passion and a calling for something, you benefit the world by going for it and doing it because you, yeah, go, no, go.
I just had a thought. Sorry. One of the things I've learned is that like when I first started programming or anything like that, at first it's difficult, right? And you almost think that there's definitely gonna be times you're like, man, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But something I've learned is that there's almost like a compound returns to something that
Mm,
you get better at, right? So it might not even have to be the thing that you love more than anything else. But I have learned that if the more you get good at something, the better it feels to do that thing. And
mm,
so let's say your friend's a plumber. If he's a very good plumber, if he's beating all the other plumbers, beating out all their contracts, he probably feels pretty good about it. He probably is excited to get up in the
mm,
morning, even if he has to go out there and do plumbing. It's fulfilling because he's doing
mm,
it well and he's the master of his craft. Does that
mm,
make
mm.
sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, exactly. That's that's no, that's amazing. That's like a flip. That's literally the flip side of exactly what I've thought about because that's what I've thought about is those who love what they do get better at what they do. And then that is basically the next step, which is and those that are good at what they do love what they do more. And so it's a positive
Yes,
cycle. And it's how the world is built. And it's amazing. Of this is how it
exactly.
works is that yeah, once you find something that you love, you get amazing at it. And then once you get amazing at it, you start loving it more and you just keep on going. And that's how you get the best of the best. That's how that is how legends are made is by the
I
people
couldn't
who
agree
just
more.
just keep on down there.
Totally agree. It's like the whole world is built up of just passion projects. It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's I feel like that's something that's kind of been lost in a lot of people's minds is just that idea. So, yeah.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah. Well, sweet. Going back a little bit then to your praxis experience and what you had from there. Obviously, you had the job, and that was an amazing thing is that you found programming. But what were some other takeaways and principles that you really learned from the program?
I may have already mentioned this. So I know we basically had two conversations at this point because we had a full long conversation, then we forgot to hit record. But
Yeah.
so stop me if I've already said this, but I think the biggest thing, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying, but just don't do things you hate.
Mm,
That's actually something I was going to say a second ago. I've heard people say, "Oh, don't do the thing you love for a living because then you'll learn to hate it." And I can't think of anything more wrong
mm,
because
mm,
I love what I'm doing now, and I feel like I haven't worked in years because of that, right?
mm,
Like it doesn't feel like I'm getting up and going to work. It feels like I'm getting up and just doing what I love to do. Like it's the thing I would do for free, right? And so
mm,
I think just that's one of the core values of praxis is finding that thing. I can't remember the exact clever mantra they have for it. I'm sure there is one, but I think that is the question that probably most people still need to find an answer, or maybe it's getting to a point where you need to find the answer to that again. Maybe if programming is not the thing I end up loving my whole life, that's okay too. But I still have to find the thing
Mm,
that I would do for free, that I love so much that I would
mm.
do for free.
Yeah, yeah, and that's. I mean, that's we were talking about this. You haven't said that in this conversation. The don't do stuff you hate. So you're all good here. But
Nice.
and yeah, that's I think that that's really the process that then because people it's a natural conclusion of yes, do what you love, and someone comes up to you and says, well, I have no idea what I love to do. And that's the principle where it goes by is going back even to trial and error. Try something if you hate it, don't
Exactly.
do that. It's like Thomas Edison with the light bulb. It's like he totally busts something, and someone's like, "Oh, dang it, you must feel sad." And he's like, "No, this is great. I just learned a way not to make a light bulb. I'm making progress."
That's right. If you want to be a writer, you're right. Don't worry about licenses. Just go do something. Right? There's
Mm.
a ton of stuff you can do without a license.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's amazing. That's sweet. So yeah, so going back, you are now working on the Ruby on Rails thing in Colorado, correct?
No, so you're talking about like where I was in the story, huh?
Yes, yes, yes. No, in the story.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Sure. So at that company, which was a great company just as a learning experience, because we basically took the equivalent of junk websites and made them into much better websites, right? It's almost like
Mm.
a house flippers, but for websites. And Matt Scalf, my great mentor, he would take any project, and he's an excellent developer. And this is kind of going
Mm.
back to what I was saying earlier. Like once you learn, probably about by the second programming language you learn, that's all basically the same after that. Or at the very least, you know enough to learn the next one a lot easier, right? So if we could do something in Ruby, we could probably also do it in PHP. We could probably also do it in Python. So we just
Mm.
kept doing it. Like we did that, right? And so we would take these websites and just sort of make them into write solid code around them, right? Make them where they probably should have been in the first place. But that was such a great learning experience. So really getting that opportunity took me from just fumbling around to actually having the knowledge and the leverage to go and build whatever I wanted to, right?
Mm.
And I worked there for probably 4 years or so, and it was a great time. And then I kind of wanted to spread my wings a little bit, and
Mm.
I went out and I found a company that was, we kind of mentioned this one earlier. It was a company that it was technically a very awesome project, right? It was
Mm.
this giant Ruby on Rails API system, and I was able to learn a ton. But my heart wasn't necessarily in it, right?
Mm.
The mission of the company wasn't that thing where it's like, yes, I want to be here for the rest of my life. And I think that's important. I think you should be working at a company where it's like I get up and I know that I'm doing good for people, right? That I'm building
Mm.
something that really has a chance to impact the world. And I'm sure it was the case of that company. Like I'm sure this could help people, but it wasn't quite clear, or at least not as
Mm.
clear as I would have liked it to be, right? But I think that that's also something you might have to do at some point. You might have to get that job that's not the thing you want to be doing, but you're able to learn a ton from it, right?
Mm.
I did that for a couple of years, and now I actually took a big pay cut to work on a company that I truly believe in, and that's Learn Arena. But I think it was so worth it. I think that it's
Mm.
doing that thing that you really it's good for. It has the potential to really change the world. That makes it's so much more fulfilling.
Mm.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
a crash course, a quick flashback to where I'm at right now.
Mm. Nice, nice. So I'm curious about going from that sort of environment where you aren't really passionate about, like day to day, how did your motivation and how you felt about your work, your fulfillment and stuff like that, how did that
Gotcha.
change with that transition? Like, did it improve things drastically? What kind of experience was that?
Okay, absolutely. Okay, yeah, I see what you mean now. So at that company, it's not like, I guess I've never really been one to do the bare minimum, but in this role, I would I would work like where I'm at now. I would not only work 8 hours, I would work, and I do work sometimes nights, weekends. This is the
Mm.
company where I could really, I think Sam Altman, he's the founder of OpenAI. It was a tweet that he said one day, and it sort of like really resonated with me. Is that you're supposed to find something to pour your soul into, like that's a good
Mm,
thing. And so this is the thing that I can pour my soul into, and it might not always be there,
mm,
right? I'll find something else if that's the case. We're talking a lifespan here, right? So, but you should be finding things to pour your soul into,
mm.
and if you're not doing that, at least for me personally, I know that I would regret it.
Yeah, yeah, and that even gets back to what we were talking about earlier, is that if you're not able to pour your soul into it, then you're not able to benefit people as much around you
Yeah,
as you should.
I think that my own personal philosophy, I think that the most benevolent way to live a life is just to be in a position where you can help the most amount of people for the longest period of time. I think that's the place everyone
Mm,
should be searching for. I think that companies exist to help people, but not all companies exist to help people, right? Like that's at
mm,
least the ideal goal for a company. But that's if you're not working for something like that, you should at least think about it, right? Like you should definitely rethink some of your long-term just principles about your life and where you want to be 5, 10, how many years from now. Definitely reflect on that. Even if
mm,
it's a short-term thing, that's totally fine, but don't make it the end goal.
yeah, yeah, no, totally, totally agree. I'm curious then, you had the experience of that kind of going and working for a job that you were maybe a little bit more interested in with the marketing stuff, and then having to go back to the more like guide work and stuff like that, the stuff that you did before that. How would you say then is the best way for somebody who is maybe in that spot, that's like, hey, I'm in this career that I don't really have that much passion for. I would love to get into programming or whatever else. Let's just stay specifically for programming because I think that'll be more helpful for people. Um, they're like, how do I best invest my time that I have on the side into this? Should I just apply for as many jobs on LinkedIn as I possibly can? Or should I pour my soul into just building projects and stuff like that? Or should I just be talking with people and trying to make connections for possible companies and opportunities and growing my network and stuff like that? Or some sort of mix? Where would you say that somebody who wants to get into the field should really focus in on?
Great question. Yeah, definitely a mix, but as priority, build things. That has been the greatest. That's done more for me. It's paid the most dividends than anything else I've
Mm,
ever done. I've always been a tinkerer, but I think everyone should be just you find something that you want to do that you can do for free, and there's always a way to do that, whether it's programming or anything
mm,
else. With programming, it's easy because all you need is a good computer, right? And I didn't have a good computer. I found like for it was an old 5 or 6 year MacBook Air that I had that I was just coding away on, and it was like I don't know,
mm,
like this big. It was tiny. It was basically it looked like a TV from 1950 something. I don't know,
mm,
but that's all I needed, right? So just build something that you can show that hey, look, I even though I'm fumbling around with this, I have the initiative to actually start doing the work, and that is
mm,
surprisingly better than the vast majority of people because most people don't even get on the bike to ride it. Most people just they sit there and they're learning about the bike. They're learning about the theory of the bike. They're learning about all these things that whatever college is teaching these days. They've never gotten on the bike. Get on the bike
mm,
and ride it around. And what's crazy is that people spend years in college learning about all the different parts of a bike, and they finally get on the bike and they realize they didn't even like the bike in the first place.
mm,
Like that would be the ultimate nightmare. So you
mm,
just focus your efforts on doing the thing that you want to be doing already. It almost
mm,
sounds obvious, right? Epictetus says if you want to be a writer, you write. So, but when you're not doing that, absolutely. I would say something else that something that praxis taught me and it helped me out tremendously is don't worry about just submitting applications.
mm,
I only submit an application after I've emailed the CEO or emailed
mm,
the CTO or someone who's a decision maker. After I've emailed them and they told me, hey, submit an application, then I'll do that. But I
mm,
want to I want to hear from them. I want to try and sway their opinion about me. If you can develop some sort of relationship with the person who's higher up in that company, it doesn't matter what the hiring manager thinks. You're a shoe-in, right?
Mm,
Um, and like recently, you mentioned you stumbled across a video I made where I was playing around with drones. And a while back, we talked about this earlier. I've kind of always had a fascination with flying cars. And a while back, I actually reached out to a company that was working with drone technology.
mm,
And so the application I sent, which wasn't really an application, but I emailed the CEO with a video that I'd made of a drone that tracked my face, and then I
mm,
held up a little sign that said like, "Hey, I want to work for you," you know. Um, and so it was the CEO actually got back to me and he said like, this is the best application I've ever seen in my whole life, the best cover letter I've ever seen. Unfortunately, there was some stuff I didn't know, which is totally fine, right? Like I
mm,
didn't get the job because I didn't know some specifics about geolocation or geospatial technology, which I really want to learn. But
mm,
I think that goes to show just the impact of being more creative in your approach.
mm,
One of the best talks I ever heard. I can't remember the guy's name. He is a Harvard business strategy professor. But
mm,
the little mantra he says is that if your strategy is do the same thing that everyone else is doing, but a little bit better, that's not a strategy, right?
mm.
You're just a copycat. And
Yeah.
really the only way to compete is to be creative and to do the thing that no one else is doing. Solve
Mm,
that problem in a way that nobody's thought about before, and that is a much better strategy. So
mm,
hopefully that gives somebody who might be in that position just a couple of tips there.
mm,
I definitely
mm.
know that
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely helps me out. So, yeah, no, super duper helpful stuff. So sweet. Yeah. Yeah. No, great stuff. Great stuff here. What encouragement and kind of what direction would you give to somebody who maybe is listening to this and would really, they're not quite at the stage of like a programmer who wants to know what to do on the side, but somebody who is like, I mean, I have a vague interest, I guess, you know, but they literally have no idea, never written a line of code in their life or something, anything like that. What would you recommend to that person to just get that jump start?
So just to clarify, like if someone has some interest in programming, but they don't really
Mm-hmm.
know where to start, or maybe they do know where to start.
Yeah, yeah, they have
Am I on the
zero
right track?
experience. Yeah,
Zero
yeah, yeah.
experience. Okay.
It's yeah.
AI, like hands down. That's the
Hmm.
thing that I really wish I had. Like all I had when I first started was, some forums on the internet, Stack Overflow, stuff like that. And sometimes I get stuck on some issue for days, right? Sometimes I
Hmm.
didn't know the question to ask, and no one around me knew the question to ask. But now we have this amazing technology that I'm still blown away that it even exists. But now we
Hmm.
have this amazing technology that not only can tell you the answer to a lot of these problems and can do it very well, but can even tell you the questions to ask that you don't know. Like something I've been really playing around with is Rust. I think
Hmm.
is an amazing programming language, and there are questions I didn't know to ask, but AI makes that so much easier. I feel like I'm able to learn this at breakneck speed compared to where it used to be, where it used would generally would have taken me, I don't know, probably 10 times longer, honestly, to learn some of this stuff. So AI is the tool that is still being highly underutilized and has potential to take you from 0 to 20 right now.
Hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah. No, that is a great point. That's AI has been invaluable
Yes.
in all of that sort of stuff. I remember, man, back in the day, like 2020, 2021, before all this AI stuff, literally, like, same thing, searching on Stack Overflow for a week, just trying to
Yeah.
figure out what the heck is wrong. Why is this not working?
I
But yeah.
seriously spent like one of my first projects. I seriously spent 2 weeks on this one. I mean,
Ooh.
it's trivial now, but when you have no idea what you're looking at, like what is this migration error? I have no idea what this is.
Mm,
I'm just like messaging random support people, like just begging them, please help me out with this. And like it's so easy these days. It's yeah, it can be a lifesaver, I think, these days.
mm. Yeah, yeah. That it reminds me of one previous guy that I had on the show. You may know him. He's connected with Praxis as well, Dave Wasmer. Um, but
I feel like I've heard the
he,
name.
yeah, he worked on. He actually built the site and everything like that for Praxis.
Oh,
Him,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah, and then him, Chuck Grimmett and
I
Chuck
know
Grimmett
Chuck Grimmett.
and
Chuck Grimmett helped me out a lot, actually. Shout out to Chuck Grimmett. He's a great guy.
yeah. Yeah, no, he's awesome. I had him. He was my second guest on the show, so very
Awesome.
super great guy. But Dave Wasmer said, this he had such a great point here. Basically, that programming a lot of times is banging your head against a wall for 2 weeks. Why the heck won't it work? You know, and so he's like, what you need to do is you need to be brew love and a passion for and you want to see in this world. He's like, that is the motivation. Very, very few people actually like writing code, like the actual physical act of doing that and solving bugs. What most people love is being able to create things and putting them into the world that they want in the world.
Absolutely. It's the tool set, right? But the tool set's what builds a house, and that's what everyone wants at the end
Mm.
of the day, right? You want the house. You don't really care about the hammer at the end of the day. The hammer's like there might be some hammers that are a little bit better, right? But it's still the main goal is nailing things, right? It's the what you can do with those tools. So yeah, don't fall in love with the coding element. Just fall in love with building things, especially
Mm.
in today's world, because the coding language at some point is probably just going to be English, which is fine. I mean, that's
Yeah.
and it'll still take knowing how it works under the hood to solve more esoteric problems, but it will become um, less and less useful as time goes on, as it
Mm.
should be,
Mm.
honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That does actually bring up a point. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. As far as there's a lot of concern nowadays about AI taking over programmers' jobs for a large part. What's kind of your take on the whole issue?
My position, and this might shock some people, I don't know. I think that it's sort of the whole point of human progress to eliminate all current jobs.
Mm,
So it's it's a job. Every job is solving a problem, right? That's the whole
hmm
point. Why you are hired on to solve a problem. If you no longer have to hire a person to solve that problem because it's no longer a problem, that's great. That's awesome. We can
mm,
move on to bigger problems. It might be sort of frustrating to have to reset and to figure out a new problem to solve, but I mean, I already mentioned this, I think, at one point, but like, I probably won't always be a programmer, but I still
mm,
know I love building things. I love the internet. I'm going to be somewhere where I can build things on the internet, whether that's writing in Python or whether it's prompting some AI model, and all the
mm,
potential with this. I mean, we're talking things that it could blast us into the stratosphere in terms of technical progress. I mean, I was on a
mm,
plane the other day, and for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi just was not working. But I had an AI model on my laptop, and I really just I was coding on the plane, and there was a problem I had, and I was like, man, I've never run into this problem before. And I was running Mistral on my machine, and I just asked Mistral, and so I had the internet without having the internet. Like how
mm.
amazing is that? That's to me. I think that I'm not too worried about it. I think that
Mm.
it'll just give us much cooler problems to solve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Couldn't agree more. That's yeah, exactly. Well, sweet. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on today, taking the time. It was really, really fun. Both conversations that we had, recorded and not recorded.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. It's been great, and you seem like you have a ton of potential. And if you ever need
Mm.
anything, if you ever run into any problem that AI can't solve, or just want to talk or whatever, I'm always happy to make time. And this really goes to anybody listening. I love teaching people, and if you ever have any questions or anything, and whatever little bit of knowledge I can provide, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate it. It's really been a joy. So sweet. Yeah, kind of closing out. Where can people find you if they want to follow what you're doing online?
Sure, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm kind of active on Twitter, so those are good places. Feel free to send me a connection on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to reach out. My own website is Alex the Younger. A teacher called me Alex the Younger, like I was Cato the Younger, like years ago, and it always sounded a little bit of catchy, a little catchy, so I stuck with that name. So yeah, it's been great though.